Today I'm going to talk about grey, because I've been thinking about grey and how we could use grey in branding. The obvious ways to use grey in branding are in text and as a background colour. But before I talk about that, let's just have a little think about grey and what it could mean for your brand. So what is it associated with? What's the colour psychology of it? Is there any symbolism associated with grey? Does it have any effect on us if we're in a grey room? So let's have a little think about that. First of all, Ultimate Grey was selected by Pantone as one of the 2 colours of the year for 2021. They had Ultimate Grey and a yellow, a really luminous yellow. And what they said about grey was this. They said they were choosing Ultimate Grey as one of the 2 colours of the year to represent fortitude and because it's solid and dependable. So there you've got some of the aspects of grey, if you like. What I also find interesting about grey is that it's the colour that you get when you add white to black, but also it's not that simple, because you can have warm greys and you can have cool greys, and when grey goes towards beige you can have greige. So it's not one thing. Grey is not one thing. It has, I think it has subtlety, and it has elegance, and it has sophistication. It also can be a restrained colour, and it can be quite calming and soothing. Think about names for grey. So grey has become very famous because of the book 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I've been looking at names for grey and I can't get to 50, but I did get to at least 20. And these are the sort of names that come up for grey. They're names like anthracite, steel, iron, smoke, carbon, slate, lead, flint, graphite, concrete. And then we have names like battleship grey, gunmetal greys, which feel quite military. And when we look at softer shades of grey, or softer hues of grey, there are names like pearl grey, whisper grey, feather, cloud, shadow. And we also get grey taking us to metallics, so silver grey, or even the colour silver, and pewter, which is a deeper metallic colour. So they give a taste. What about grey in nature? So grey in nature, if you think about grey colours in nature, you've got the connection with earth, which relates to being solid and dependable. So we've got grey in terms of rocks and stones and pebbles, which conjures up images of beaches with water passing over the pebbles on a beach, which I think is quite a soothing image. No, so in nature, if you think about mammals, we've got hippos, rhinos, elephants. Elephants must be some of the most favourite animals on earth. And we also have seals and porpoises and whales, dolphins, grey. So it is a colour that's present in nature. So I've talked about the positives of grey, being elegant and sophisticated and restrained and calm, and it's a soothing colour. Is there a downside to grey? What would the downside be? So the downside to grey could be that it goes with that colour battleship grey. So grey can feel suppressive, it can be dull and gloomy, or dirty and dingy. And maybe when things are grey, they just blend in. They don't stand out, they just blend in. So that can be the downside of grey. Do we have any sayings where grey comes into play? We certainly have grey-haired, which indicates maturity, which could also be sophisticated. And grey could maybe feel conservative with a small c. Maybe it's timeless and practical. So are there any downsides to grey? Grey and its relevance or meaning in your branding. How could you use grey? I've actually looked and I cannot find any examples of logos where grey is a dominant colour or grey is the colour that you'd associate with a brand. So we do have brands that use black, like Nike. Apple move from a multicoloured rainbow logo to sometimes it's black, sometimes it's white, sometimes it's silver, but it's not really grey. It's a metallic effect of the logo. So I can't find an example of a grey logo, and I think that's because of what we're talking about. So if you think about sayings with grey, we talk about it's a grey area. We might mention the men in grey suits. You can have a grey day. So I think these are the right reasons why probably it's not a good choice as one of your core brand colours, but it does have a role. So what's the role? The role is it's a great colour to use for text because, and I'm talking deep greys here, I'm talking about the charcoals and the anthracites. So using text that's not quite black is actually less harsh and it has a softer effect. So that's one way that you could use grey, dark grey in your text. You can actually use lighter grey for text, but personally I would use lighter greys when you're using bigger fonts on your website, for example, your header ones. But on balance, I probably wouldn't do that. Because of all the other associations with grey. There's another great use of grey, which particularly on your website, which is actually using the softest, palest hues in the background. It's a really useful background colour because it's less harsh and glaring than pure white as the background colour on your website. It's just that little bit softer. And also I've been reading guidelines for people who have dyslexia, and moving to a soft background like a soft pearl grey or a hint of grey or a whisper grey with a very dark grey as the text colour is easier for people with dyslexia to read. So there's a practical use for it as well. So those are two uses of grey. So that's a bit about grey, which I hope you found useful. If you want to check out my views on other colours, then there are individual videos for each colour area.